So, good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? So yesterday, the video that I tried to do with the live streaming didn't necessarily come out the way I wanted it to. It made it a little bit more difficult for you guys to be able to watch that stream. So I just want to do a retake of the video from yesterday so that you guys can have it native on your Facebook and YouTube. All right, here's the deal. So the title of it was, what giants are standing on your shoulder and how to get them off. First, let's understand where that comes from. See, I was reading some information about Sir Isaac Newton a couple of months back, and one of his statements was the fact that people question if you're able to see, if you want to understand why I can see so far is because of the giants whose shoulders I stand upon. What he's doing is paying homage to all the people who came before him in math and science and literary art. But if you know anything more about him, you know he was a major alchemist. So he was saying, paying homage, giving respect to the people whose shoulders he stands on, which allows him to see as far as he can see. Now you yourself are standing on the shoulders of giants. You're standing on the shoulders of those giants of your ancestors, your family members, those who came before you. You're also standing on the shoulders of all the giants of whom you've studied, or who came in your field before you, or who came in marriage or life or money or any of those things before you. So you're standing on the shoulders of giants. Now, Jim Rohn had a quote that I actually love as well. He talked about the fact that the best things are usually on the top shelf. And in order for you to reach those things on the top shelf, you have to stand on the books you've read. So I ask you a question. What was the last book you've read? And the reason why I'm asking you that question is because if you want to stand on the shoulders of giants, then you have to go out and gain information and then be able to practically use that information. You see, it's not just about reading the book, but standing on the book takes effort, takes work, takes your movement. Now, then I started to think conversely about that thought. You're standing on the shoulders of giants. What giants are standing on your shoulders, which are preventing you from being able to see what you can see, so preventing your vision from going out as far as you would desire for your vision to be? It is only allowing you to see just what's in front of you instead of being able to see the entire pasture, the entire mountain range, to be able to see to the ends of the earth. You know, one of the beautiful things about being out on a ship is that you can see to the edge of the water, to the edge of the earth, where the sky and the earth meets. It's a beautiful thing. You're able to see about 10 miles. So I ask you the question, who's standing on your shoulders? And you may think, well, what are you talking about? People standing on my shoulders, giants standing on my shoulders. No one's standing on my shoulder. Well, the first giant that's standing on your shoulder is yourself. You are standing on your own shoulders as a giant, preventing you from being able to have the vision, the sight, the being able to put into place the things that you want in your life, because you have your own ways of thinking that has been programmed into you based on where you live, how you grew up, who your parents were, who everything within your society, But in order to relieve yourself of that giant, you have to open your mind up to think differently, to see the things that's been holding you back that sometimes is within you. Like Yeshua said, that if you have doubt, then that doubt cancels out your faith of a mustard seed. Doubt. So if you got doubt about something that you want to accomplish, then it's going to inhibit you from ever being able to accomplish that thing, and thereby you will never see it. Your vision is skewed. You can't see it. Now, yes, sometimes there are systems that have been put in place, and those systems stands on your shoulders. It may be a system of narcotics. It may be a system of injustice. It may be a system of poor neighborhood, poor finances. It may be a system of police brutality. It could be a system that you don't even really know that's going on around you. But until you face that system, look at that system, and recognize that you are above and beyond that system, and that there is work that you must do in order to make sure that that system is not holding you down, not being a giant on you. So how do we do that? Education always is in play. You always have to go and get the knowledge so you can then come into a level of understanding and then be able to walk in wisdom of that knowledge. So if you know that you're in a system that is defined by police brutality, then the first thing you need to understand is, how do I walk as a man in this system? And that is by knowing the law, what you're able to do, what your adversary, what your enemy is able to do. And that goes across all systems. You got to know the enemy. Just as much as you got to know the enemy within, you got to know the enemy on the outside. The one that's persecuting you, what are their laws? What are their rules? How can you beat them? By following their own propaganda, their own process, their own legalese. That's how you beat a system. Now, another way of beating a system is one of the things I talked about recently here, is that if your community doesn't have any economic strength, then the government, the police, the politicians, they don't care about you. And they're not going to care about you until your economy within your neighborhood, within your group, within your town, your nationality, your race, your whatever you want to call it, until there is strength there financially, there will be no political power. It's just a sad fact of how it works. Just how it works. Now, other than that, some of the giants that you may not recognize are the giants of your family. It's those familiar relationships that you have with your family members or your husband, wife, spouse, children that are holding you back, that's preventing you from being able to elevate yourself and see the fullness of what's in front of you. Yes, we love them. But as someone recently said to me, family is not a bloodline. Family is a behavior. See, the idea that blood is thicker than water, not necessarily. There are people who have water with me, but the fact of the matter is they can walk on that water because the behavior that they have towards me is thicker than the blood. So behavior comes before family relationships, before relativity. So I know that's probably hard for some people to understand and for some people to walk with, but think about this. If you follow the teachings of Yeshua said he was in the house and they said your mother and your brothers are outside and they're calling to you, and he said, no, my mother and brothers are all those sitting around with me. A behavior, not a family bloodline. Now, the last one giant that I'm going to talk about, and this may offend some of you, so if you're easily offended, you might want to turn this off right now. But sometimes the religious belief that you have is the giant that stands on your shoulder that prevents you from being able to see what God really has for you. You see, if you're in a religion and you're constantly being told that you're not worthy, that you're worthless, that you filthy rags, but at the same time you're told that you're inheritors, that the kingdom of God is laid out around you, that you're supposed to live a life of abundance now, not when you get to heaven, now, how can you ever get there? You see, I know that they'll say that you are filthy rags and you are filled with sin and you are nasty. Sorry, that dropped the phone. And that... And I know they'll say, because I'm pounding the table a little bit, so it's messing up. So I know that they'll tell you that you're not worthy of it. But then they'll say that you're redeemed through another force. But yet you continue to suffer. Maybe if you hear a message that's always telling you how nasty, how dirty, how filthy you are, in your psyche, that seed is being killed by the doubt. Now, you could be in a religion that also says that in order for you to see heaven, you got to strap a bomb to your chest and go kill some other people who don't believe the same thing you believe, or they are supposedly your enemy. And then if you're believing that unless everybody agrees with you, unless everybody does what you do or believes what you believe, then how will you ever find peace and how will you ever find and know God? You can't. You will not. You will always be in a constant state of suffering. Because why? They're putting that suffering seed in your brain and it's growing and it has branches and it produces fruit. And that fruit is being passed on to your children from generation to generation to generation. You see, if you think that you're not worthy of the God spark that's inside of you, of the Godhead that is inside of you, of the nirvana that you can feel, that you can have, the connection that you can have, if you can never release and open your crown chakra, then you will never, ever stop suffering. You will continue to suffer. And that giant will stand on your shoulder. And every year you will keep getting ideas and thoughts and wishes and dreams of hope. But it'll never come to pass because that giant of negativity, that giant of you're not worthy, that giant of you don't deserve it, is always standing on your shoulder because that giant is headed by a big old seed of doubt. So unless you get past that, and I know that don't sit well with some of you, you've been taught the same system, the same message for your entire life, but that's the giant that's standing on your shoulder. And then you sit back and wonder why other people are achieving this because they don't have that giant on their shoulders. So look, I know my greatness is non-negotiable, and I know yours is non-negotiable as well. So y'all have a good day. Enjoy yourselves.